Coming home from the hospital early was supposed to be a sweet surprise. But in our bedroom, my husband was tangled up with another woman. I didn't scream. I just smiled, a bitter, painful smile, and left in silence. On my phone, notifications lit up relentlessly. My husband, 26 missed calls. Before we get into this story full of intrigue, please write in the comments which city you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so this channel can grow and bring you more thrilling stories. The distinct antiseptic smell of the hospital finally left my nostrils, replaced by the scent of wet earth that wafted up as I stepped out of the lobby of Mount Sinai Hospital. The New York City sky that afternoon was a dark gray, as if holding back an immense weight. Just like my body, which felt completely broken. The doctors had finally allowed me to go home early after a week of being treated for a flare-up of the autoimmune disease I suffer from. This disease is like an enemy within, attacking my own body at the most unexpected times, making my joints ache and draining all my energy. But today, a little spark of spirit ran through me. I wanted to go home. I missed our apartment, and more than anything, I missed Ben. I intentionally didn't tell Ben I was coming home. I imagined his surprised and happy face when he saw me standing at the door. Maybe he would hug me immediately, stroke my hair, and make me a warm cup of tea, just like he used to in the early days of our marriage. That beautiful daydream accompanied me through the insane Midtown Manhattan traffic, made worse by a heavy downpour. The Uber I was in crawled slowly among the endless lines of vehicles. The car's wipers moved rhythmically, sweeping away the rain. In sync with my impatient heartbeat, "Ma'am, the rain's getting heavier. Looks like there'll be flooding in some spots," the driver said, breaking the silence. "It's okay, sir. No problem. Just take your time, as long as we get there," I replied, massaging my temples. My head was still a little dizzy, a lingering effect of the high-dose medications I'd received through an IV a few days ago. The journey that usually took only 45 minutes stretched to nearly 2 hours. By the time the car finally entered our residential area in Westchester, the sky was completely dark. This complex, usually quiet and green with shady trees, was now heavy with rainwater. I asked the driver to stop right in front of the gate of our minimalist, cream-colored house. The house we bought with my hard-earned money as a pharmaceutical sales representative and Ben's salary when he was still starting his career. "Thank you, sir," I said after paying. I got out carefully, holding an umbrella over my head. That's when my eyes caught something odd. In the carport, right next to Ben's SUV, was a bright red Honda Jazz. My brow furrowed. Whose car was this? As far as I knew, Ben had never mentioned having guests over, especially not after work and in such bad weather. Maybe it was his cousin or a colleague seeking shelter from the rain. I opened the small, unlocked gate with the spare key from my bag. The front yard was soaked, but the porch light was on, casting a warm glow. A sudden uneasy feeling crept into my heart. An instinct from who knows where. My heart beat faster. Not because of my illness, but because of a premonition. I walked slowly towards the main door. As I was about to insert the key, I realized the door wasn't locked, just closed. I pushed the door open gently to avoid making a sound. The first floor was quiet. The living room light was dim. Ben's work bag was thrown carelessly on the sofa, and there was a pair of nude-colored women's high heels near the shoe rack. Those shoes weren't mine. They looked smaller than my size, and the style was too flashy for my simple taste. My blood ran cold. The chill from the house's air conditioning mixed with the sudden heat rising to my head. My steps halted when I heard laughter. It came from upstairs, from our master bedroom. It was a crisp, flirtatious laugh, and definitely not from the TV. It was a woman's voice. Then, it was followed by the deep voice of a man I knew all too well. Ben's voice. "You're so naughty, Allie." Ben's voice was faint but clear to my suddenly sharp ears. "Let me be. Besides, your sickly wife is still in the hospital for a while. We're free, Ben," the woman's voice replied. My feet felt glued to the cold marble floor. Asterisk. Sickly asterisk. The word stabbed my chest more painfully than any IV needle. With the last bit of strength I could muster, I forced my legs to climb the stairs. Each step felt like climbing a steep mountain. My hand gripped the railing tightly. steadying myself to keep from collapsing. The master bedroom door was slightly ajar. The warm glow of the bedside lamp spilled out. I peeked through the crack. The scene inside made my breath catch in my throat. On the bed where we usually rested, on the sheets whose color I had carefully chosen, my husband was holding another woman. Her back was to me, her long hair flowing down, and she was wearing Ben's oversized work shirt. Ben was laughing, his face so relaxed, so carefree, without a hint of guilt. The woman was Alyssa, Ben's coworker who had been to our house a few times for office events. The woman who was always so sweet and praised my cooking. The woman who appeared so innocent to everyone. My world crumbled in that instant. It felt like an earthquake was happening only inside me. The ceiling seemed to be caving in on me. Tears threatened to spill, but were held back at the edge of my eyes. The pain in my joints from my autoimmune disease suddenly vanished, replaced by a numbness that spread from my toes to the top of my head. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break down the door, pull Alyssa's hair, and slap Ben's face. I wanted to curse them out, to unleash all my anger about my sacrifices, my pain, my loyalty. But for some reason, my voice was gone. My throat was choked. The logic in my head worked with lightning speed amidst this emotional storm. If I confronted them now, I would just be a hysterical, sick wife. Ben would have a reason to corner me. In the midst of that devastation, my lips moved to form a smile. A very bitter smile. A smile of realization of how foolish I had been. A farewell smile to a love that turned out to be fake. I looked at them one last time, searing that disgusting scene into my memory as fuel for the hatred I would need later. With a trembling hand, I took out my phone. Not to take a picture, the flash or camera sound would alert them, but to order another Uber, I backed away slowly. Very slowly. My steps were like a thief's in my own home. I went down the stairs one by one, holding my breath to keep from sobbing. Tears finally fell, one by one, wetting my cheeks as I reached the ground floor. I went out the front door, closing it carefully behind me as if I had never been there. The rain outside was heavier, as if nature itself was crying with me. I stood on the porch, waiting for the Uber I had ordered. My body shivered, not from the cold, but from the shock that had just hit my nerves. When the car arrived, I got in quickly. "Where to, ma'am?" asked a different driver. "Greenwich Village, please. Any good hotels there?" My voice was hoarse. The car moved, leaving behind the house I once proudly called my little palace. I didn't look back. Inside the car, I hugged my purse tightly, as if it were the only thing I had left to hold on to. In my head, the image of Ben and Alyssa kept replaying like a broken record. Asterisk. Sickly asterisk, they had said. Asterisk. "All right, Ben. This sickly wife of yours will show you the true meaning of pain." Asterisk, I swore to myself. Asterisk. "These are the last tears I will cry for you. From this moment on, the weak and submissive Sarah is dead." Asterisk. The Uber carrying me through the rain finally stopped at the lobby of an artistic boutique hotel in Greenwich Village. I chose this place for a reason. It was far enough from Westchester to prevent Ben from finding me quickly, but close enough to the city center if I needed to take care of things. Besides, I needed an unfamiliar place, a place where no memories of us clung to the walls. I checked in mechanically. The receptionist smiled warmly, perhaps a little surprised to see a woman with a pale face and swollen eyes arriving alone without a large suitcase, just a handbag and a tote with a change of clothes from the hospital. "Deluxe room on the 3rd floor." "Yes, Miss Sarah. Here's your key card. Have a good rest," she said politely. I just nodded weakly and took the access card. As soon as I entered the room, the scent of lavender greeted me. The room was spacious, with a large window overlooking the wet streets of New York. I placed my bag on the desk and sat on the edge of the soft bed, but the silence of the hotel room only made the voices in my head louder. Suddenly, my body began to shake violently. The adrenaline that had supported me when I fled the house was now slowly receding, replaced by a wave of shock that hit me without mercy. My teeth chattered. My hands trembled so much that I had to hug myself to calm them down. The image of Ben and Alyssa on the bed returned, clearer and more painful. A feeling of disgust crawled over my skin. I felt dirty, as if Ben's betrayal was stuck to my body, too. My phone in my bag started vibrating for a long time, then stopped. Then it vibrated again. I knew who it was without looking. With a still trembling hand, I took out the phone. The screen displayed the contact name My Hubby, with a red heart emoji I had put there with so much love. Now, seeing that name made my stomach churn. 1 call, 2 calls, 5 calls. Ben must have noticed my absence. Or maybe he was just calling to make small talk, asking how I was at the hospital, pretending to be a caring husband. Or worse, maybe he was panicking because the hospital told him I had been discharged since the afternoon. My finger hovered over the green button, tempted to answer, and curse him out right then and there. I wanted to scream, "Asterisk, I know what you did, you bastard." Asterisk, but then my late father's voice echoed in my ear, gentle yet firm. Asterisk, Sarah. Never make a big decision when your emotions are running high. It's okay to be angry, but don't be foolish. Calm down, make a strategy, then act. Asterisk, I took a deep breath, trying to fill my constricted lungs. Dad was right. If I answered this call now, I would lose. Ben was a manipulative person. If he knew that I knew, he would twist the facts, make excuses, or even blame me. I needed proof. I needed a plan. I needed an ally. I let the phone continue to vibrate until it finally stopped on its own. WhatsApp notifications started pouring in. I ignored them. I switched my phone to silent mode, then searched for one name in my contacts, Rachel. Rachel was my best friend from college. She was a well-known lawyer, fierce and tough in court, but incredibly loyal to her friends. She was the only person I could trust right now. "Hey, Sar, what's up? Calling so late. Need anything from the hospital?" Rachel's voice was cheerful on the other end. "Rach," my voice broke. My defenses crumbled, hearing my best friend's voice. "Hey, what's wrong? Are you crying, Sarah? Where are you? What's wrong with your autoimmune disease? Is it a bad flare-up?" Rachel's tone immediately turned to panic. "I'm at a hotel in the village, Rach. I ran away." Ben is cheating on me," I managed to say between sobs. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then Rachel's voice turned cold and sharp. "Location. Send it now. I'm on my way. Don't do anything. Don't call anyone. Wait for me." 45 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. When I opened it, Rachel was standing there with a worried face, still in her work blazer. In her hands were a plastic bag with food and her laptop bag. As soon as she saw me, she hugged me tightly. My tears broke again on her shoulder. Rachel let me cry until I was done, patting my back without saying much. She knew that right now, I just needed my cries to be heard, not her advice. After I calmed down a bit, Rachel guided me to the sofa. She opened the plastic bag she brought, chicken soup and warm tea. "Eat first. You need strength. Sick people can't skip meals, especially when they're this stressed," she commanded firmly. I obeyed, though it was hard to swallow. Every spoonful tasted bland. Rachel sat in front of me, opening her laptop. Her face was serious. "Okay, S. Now, tell me slowly, what did you see?" she asked. I told her everything about coming home early, the red Honda Jazz, their laughter, and the scene in our bedroom. Rachel listened intently, her jaw tightening. "That bastard," Rachel hissed under her breath. "And you said he kept calling?" "Yeah, dozens of missed calls already," I replied, glancing at my phone. Its notification light still blinking. "Don't answer. Let him squirm. The more he panics, the sloppier he'll get," Rachel said. "Tonight is not for mourning, Sar. Tonight, we strategize. You're the legal wife. You have rights. But before we go to war, we need ammunition." Rachel looked at me sharply. "Do you have access to your finances, mobile banking, email?" I nodded. "I know his ATM PIN and internet banking password. He gave them to me so I could easily pay the bills if he was busy." "Good. Open it now," Rachel commanded. I took my phone, opened the banking app. My hand still trembled slightly, as I entered the access code. Success. Rachel and I started to go through the transaction history for the last 3 months. At first, it looked normal: mortgage payments, utilities, monthly groceries. But Rachel, with her lawyer's eagle eye, pointed out a suspicious transaction. Look at this, Sar. A $5,000 transfer to an account under the name Alyssa Monroe. The description says, office reimbursement. Since when are office reimbursements made using a husband's personal account? Rachel asked cynically. I held my breath. That was on the 15th of last month. I was at the doctor's for a checkup, and he said he couldn't take me because of a meeting. Keep scrolling, Rachel said. We scrolled down. A $2,000 transfer. A payment for a 5-star hotel in the Hamptons on a weekend when I was undergoing a light chemotherapy session 2 months ago. Ben had said he was on a business trip to Chicago. It turned out he was in the Hamptons, and what made my chest tighten the most was the discovery of a large transfer last week. $10,000 moved to another savings account in his name. I mumbled in disbelief. He's moving assets, Sar, Rachel said quickly. He's getting ready, either to divorce you or to finance his new lifestyle with that woman. He thinks you're stupid and won't check this closely because you're busy with your illness. Anger began to burn away my sadness. Ben hadn't just betrayed my love, he had also robbed our future. That money was our joint savings, which we had accumulated little by little. A large part of it was my annual bonus as a pharmaceutical sales representative, which I had saved for our pilgrimage to Mecca. Check his email, Sar. Cheating men are usually careless with their digital trail, Rachel said, typing something on her laptop, noting all our findings. I don't have my iPad. It's at home, I said weakly. No need. Have you ever logged into his email on your phone? Or vice versa? I tried to remember. A long time ago, he borrowed my phone to send a work file because his was dead. His email might still be logged in on my Gmail app. I opened the email app, and sure enough, Ben's account was still there, not logged out. My heart raced as I tapped on his account icon. Hundreds of emails, hotel booking notifications, credit card bills he never told me about, and the most painful, a WhatsApp chat backup notification. Rachel, I called out softly. He was planning to sell our house. My eyes were fixed on a draft email addressed to a real estate agent. The subject, quick offer for Westchester House, need cash fast. The date on the email was yesterday. Rachel let out a long sigh and looked at me with fiery eyes. Sarah, listen to me. This isn't just about cheating anymore. This is about your survival. He wants to throw you away and take everything. Whose name is the house under? The mortgage is in his name, but the large down payment was from my mother's inheritance, I answered. Okay, we have an opening. Tonight, we gather all this evidence. We screenshot it, we download it, we save it to a cloud he doesn't know about. Tomorrow, we'll make him regret ever underestimating Sarah. That night, in a hotel room in Greenwich Village, under Rachel's guidance, I didn't sleep a wink. My sleepiness was consumed by revenge. Every piece of evidence we found, intimate photos saved in Google Photos, proof of transfers, disgusting archived chats, was gasoline fueling the fire within me. Ben thought I was a weak and sick wife he could fool. He was dead wrong. He forgot that as a pharmaceutical rep, I was used to facing rejections from doctors, chasing impossible targets, and surviving in a tough field. I looked at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My eyes were red, my face was thin, but there was a new look in them. The look of a woman ready for war. Just you wait, Ben, I whispered to the reflection in the mirror. You started this game, but I will be the one to end it. 2 days passed in the hotel room in Greenwich Village, which felt like a protective bunker. The thick window curtains were deliberately never opened wide, leaving the room dim, lit only by the glow of laptop screens and the yellow light of a desk lamp. Time seemed to slow down, crawling between stacks of cold fast food boxes and empty coffee cups. Rachel and I didn't go anywhere. We were like two detectives dissecting the carcass of a rotten marriage, searching for the real cause of its death. Outside, New York City might still be drenched in rain, but inside, the storm was far more violent. Rachel was right. Cheating men often become careless because they feel overconfident. They think their wives are too stupid, too busy, or in my case, too sick to notice the small details. Ben forgot that I was a pharmaceutical sales representative. My job required a high level of meticulousness, memorizing drug details, reading doctors' personalities, and analyzing sales data. I was now using those analytical skills to dissect my own husband's lies. On the table, Ben's iPad, which had been in my hospital bag, became a silent witness. The sleek device turned out to be a Pandora's box. Ben might have changed his phone password, but he forgot to log out of his Google account on this iPad. And that's where everything was neatly stored. A digital trail that couldn't lie. Sarah, you have to see this. Rachel's voice broke the silence. Her tone was flat, but I could hear the restrained anger in it. I moved my chair closer to Rachel. On the laptop screen, Rachel opened a Google Photos folder that was automatically synced. My heart sank. There was a series of photos taken in the last 3 months. The photos told a story of a warm and romantic love affair, unfortunately, not with me. There was a photo of Ben and Alyssa having dinner at a rooftop restaurant in the Hamptons. The date the photo was taken coincided with the day I was undergoing a light chemotherapy session for my autoimmune disease. At that time, Ben had said he had to go to Chicago for an urgent meeting with an important client. He had even sent me a photo of the view from a plane window, which I now realized must have been taken from Google Images. I swallowed a bitter lump in my throat. So, while I was vomiting alone in the bathroom from the effects of the medication, he was feeding her steak in the Hamptons. Rachel didn't answer. Her hand kept scrolling down. There were photos of movie tickets, receipts for designer bags, and even a short video of them singing together in the car we were paying off together. Their laughter in the video was so carefree. The laughter that once belonged only to me, he now shared with another woman who was wearing things bought with our money. That's not all, Sar. Check the archived folder in Gmail, Rachel said, clicking on another tab. There were backed up WhatsApp chats periodically saved to the email. My eyes scanned the lines of their conversation. The language was disgusting, babe, love, and heart emojis were scattered everywhere. But what made my blood boil wasn't just their intimacy, but how they talked about me. Alyssa, asterisk. When is your wife getting better? It's taking so long we can't even go on a real vacation. Asterisk. Ben, asterisk patience, babe. Her illness is like that. It comes and goes. Besides, when she's sick, I have an excuse not to be home. Just pray the asset stuff gets sorted out soon. Asterisk. I gasped when I read the word asset. What did he mean? Rachel quickly switched to the sent folder in the email. There. We found a series of correspondences between Ben and a real estate agent. My eyes widened. There was a PDF attachment containing a draft offer for the sale of our house in Westchester. My house, my palace. The place where I had arranged every corner with love. The place where I had hoped to raise our children. Ben intended to sell it under the table at a low price for a quick sale. He needed cash fast. Rachel's analysis was sharp. Look at the date on this email. 3 days ago, he wanted to sell this house without your knowledge. The deed is still with the bank, but he could forge your signature for a power of attorney for an under-the-table sale or a mortgage transfer. But why, Rach? His salary is good. Mine is too, I asked, confused. Lifestyle, Sar. A mistress is expensive, Rachel answered coldly. And look at this, the worst part. Rachel opened the transaction history of our pilgrimage savings account. The account was in Ben's name, but 80% of it was my savings. For years, I had set aside my annual bonus, refraining from buying new bags or going on lavish vacations for our sacred intention to go to Mecca together. The number on the screen made my breath catch. The balance was almost zero. There had been a series of massive transfers out in the last 2 weeks. A $5,000 transfer to Prestige Motors, a down payment for a car, a $2,500 transfer to Ben's personal account, a $1,000 transfer to Alyssa Monroe. He used my pilgrimage money to buy a new car, my voice trembled. The tears I had been holding back since yesterday now flowed again, but this time it wasn't out of sadness, but out of anger, an immense anger. That money wasn't just numbers. It was my sweat, my prayers, my hope to worship. He stole my worship to finance his sin. That slimy bastard, Rachel cursed, something she rarely did. This is a crime, Sar. Embezzlement within a marriage. We can drag him to jail for this. As we were busy gathering evidence, my phone, lying on the bed, vibrated again. Soon after, a WhatsApp message came in. Rachel told me to read it. Ben's messages had changed in tone from initially worried to manipulative. Message 1. Yesterday afternoon. Asterisk. Honey, where are you? I'm so worried. Please pick up. Asterisk. Message 2. Last night. Asterisk Sarah. Stop joking around. You're sick. You need your medication. Come home. Asterisk. Message 3. This morning. Asterisk. I've asked the hospital. They said you left on your own. Where did you go? Don't embarrass me in front of the neighbors. Asterisk. Message 4. Just now. Asterisk. If you don't come home by tonight, I'm reporting you to the police as missing or a runaway. Remember, you're mentally unstable because of your autoimmune medication. People will believe me if I say you were hallucinating and ran away from home. Asterisk. I read the last message with a clenched fist. He was threatening me. He wanted to use my illness to discredit me. He wanted to build a narrative that I was crazy. Gaslighting at its finest, Rachel commented cynically. I slammed the phone on the table. My fear was gone. Ben's threat was the fuel that burned away all my hesitation. I looked at Rachel with a fierce gaze. Rach, enough. We don't need to hide anymore. We have all the proof. Bank statements, chats, emails, photos. We've downloaded everything, I said firmly. Rachel smiled with satisfaction, closing her laptop. So, what's the plan? Tomorrow, I'm going home, I replied. I want to get my clothes, my important documents, and I want him to know that I'm not the stupid wife he can trample on. We're not going alone, Rachel said, picking up her phone. I'm going to call the 2 security guards at your complex that I always give holiday tips to. We need witnesses. If he gets rough, we'll have people. And remember, Sar, she added, tomorrow is your show. Don't cry in front of him. Don't give him the satisfaction of seeing you broken. I nodded firmly. Outside, thunder rumbled. The New York sky seemed to know that tomorrow there would be a war, and I, Sarah, was ready to face it. I was no longer a weak patient. I was the storm that would destroy the house of cards Ben had built. The morning sun didn't appear that day. The New York sky remained a faithful gray, as if in mourning or perhaps preparing to witness an execution. The clock showed 10 a.m. Ben should have been at his office in the financial district, busy with important meetings and his ambition to become a director. However, with information from his company's HR, who happened to be a college friend of Rachel's, we knew Ben had taken 3 days of sick leave. Sick? Ha! He was probably enjoying his freedom at our house, thinking his wife was still somewhere unknown. Rachel's car, a formidable Range Rover Sport, entered the gates of the Westchester housing complex slowly. In the back seat sat Mr. Peterson and Mr. Williams, 2 security guards from the complex, whom we had picked up from the front post. Their faces were confused but alert. Rachel had briefed them briefly. I need you two to accompany Miss Sarah to retrieve her belongings from her house, just in case there are any misunderstandings. Just stand by and be witnesses. My heart pounded. Not from fear, but from the adrenaline of battle. I was wearing a crisp white shirt and black trousers, the kind of outfit I usually wore for meetings with hard-to-reach specialist doctors. I also applied a maroon lipstick to my pale lips. I would not appear as a pathetic victim. I would appear as a classy woman who knew her worth. The car stopped right in front of the house gate. Alyssa's red Honda Jazz was gone. Good. I didn't have to get my hands dirty dealing with that woman today. Ready, Sar? Rachel asked, turning off the engine. Ready, I replied curtly. We got out. Mr. Peterson and Mr. Williams followed behind with firm steps. I opened the front door with my spare key. The sound of the key clicking echoed in the morning silence. The door opened. The smell of cigarettes immediately hit my nose. Ben knew I hated the smell of smoke and had promised to stop smoking inside the house since I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease. The living room was a mess. Fast food wrappers were scattered on the coffee table next to empty liquor bottles. On the long sofa, Ben was lying down, watching TV with the volume blaring. He was only wearing boxer shorts and a shabby t-shirt. His face showed utter shock when he saw the door open and me step in, followed by my troops. He jumped up, nearly tripping over a bottle on the floor. "Sarah!" His eyes widened, then quickly darted to Rachel and the two security guards behind us. His initially shocked face turned beet red, a mixture of shame and anger. What is this? Why are you bringing strangers into our house?" I stood tall in the middle of the room, looking at him coldly. "I'm home to get my things, Ben. Mr. Peterson and Mr. Williams are just here to help if anything is heavy." Ben tried to regain control of the situation. He tidied his messy hair and put on the concerned husband face I'd seen so many times in TV dramas. He walked towards me, trying to take my hand. "Honey, oh my God. Where have you been?" I was worried sick. His voice was made as soft as possible, but it sounded fake to my ears. "I called you hundreds of times. What's wrong with you? You're sick, Sar. You need to rest. Why are you wandering around and bringing your friends here?" I pushed his hand away harshly. "Don't touch me." Ben was stunned. He took a step back, and then his tactics changed. His eyes narrowed, looking at me with a condescending gaze I had never seen so openly before. "What's wrong with you?" Being hysterical for no reason, he hissed softly, hoping Mr. Peterson and Mr. Williams wouldn't hear. Then he raised his voice, speaking to the people behind me. "I'm sorry, Mr. Peterson, Mr. Williams, Rachel. My wife is a bit emotionally disturbed right now. It's the effect of high-dose autoimmune medication. She has hallucinations and paranoia. You know how it is with sick people." My blood boiled. He was actually doing it. He was playing the crazy wife card right in front of my face. "Hallucinations, Ben?" I asked calmly. My voice echoed in the living room. "So, the red Honda Jazz in the carport 3 days ago was a hallucination? The sound of a woman's moans and laughter from our room was a hallucination? Your work shirt that Alyssa was wearing was a hallucination?" Ben's face went pale as soon as I mentioned Alyssa's name, but he was a masterful liar. He laughed. A forced, discordant laugh. "Oh my God, Sarah, you're really sick." That was my cousin Rena's car. She stopped by to borrow some money. "Are you jealous of my own cousin?" "You need a psychiatrist, Sar, not a lawyer." I smiled wryly. Rachel, who was standing beside me, swiftly opened the laptop she had ready in her hand and played an audio recording at full volume. The sound filled the living room, clear and undeniable. Asterisk, "You're so naughty, Allie." Asterisk, asterisk. "Let me be. Besides, your sickly wife is still in the hospital for a while. We're free, Ben, asterisk." Ben and Alyssa's voices. The recording I had secretly taken when I stood outside the bedroom door 3 days ago. I hadn't taken a picture, but I had managed to press the voice recorder button on my phone before I ran. Ben's face turned from pale to ashen. His mouth hung open, but no sound came out. He stared at Rachel's laptop as if he had seen a ghost. Mr. Peterson and Mr. Williams exchanged glances, looking awkward and shocked to hear the vulgar recording. "Is that your cousin's voice, Ben?" I asked sarcastically, calling each other babe and talking about a sickly wife. Before Ben could argue, I threw a thick brown envelope onto the table in front of him. Its contents spilled out printouts of bank statements, proof of transfers to Alyssa, hotel booking confirmations in the Hamptons, and the draft email for the house sale. "And what about these, Ben? Hallucinations too?" I snapped. My voice finally rose, releasing my pent-up anger. "A $5,000 transfer for a car down payment using our pilgrimage money? You were going to sell this house behind my back? You call that a hallucination?" Ben trembled. He saw the evidence scattered before him. He knew he was checkmated. The mask of the successful young executive and loving husband was shattered into pieces on our living room floor. "Sarah, listen to me. That was an investment," he stammered. Cold sweat started to bead on his forehead. "I just wanted to grow the money." "Enough," I cut him off sharply. "I don't need your garbage explanations. Starting today, I'm moving out of this house. Rachel will handle the divorce petition. And don't even think you can sell this house. because Rachel already put a lien on the property at the county clerk's office this morning. I turned and signaled to Rachel, "Let's get the stuff." I walked past Ben, who was still frozen. My shoulder brushed against his, hard. He didn't fight back. He looked small, insignificant, and pathetic. The man I once revered as my partner was now nothing more than a loser caught in the act. Mr. Peterson and Mr. Williams efficiently helped me carry 2 large suitcases filled with my clothes and important documents to Rachel's car. Ben just sat on the sofa, his head in his hands, pulling at his hair. He didn't dare to look at me, let alone at the 2 security guards who were now looking at him with disgust. When the last suitcase was in the trunk, I stood at the front door one last time. I looked at the room. There was pain, of course. This house was a silent witness to our journey. But that pain was now overshadowed by an immense sense of relief. The burden of his lies was lifted. "Wait for the summons from the court, Ben," I said coldly without looking back. "And oh, tell Alyssa thank you for taking the trash out of my life." I slammed the front door hard. Asterisk, bam, asterisk. That sound was the closing of a chapter of my old life. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sun began to peek shyly from behind the clouds. I got into Rachel's car, took a deep breath, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly alive. That night, after the emotionally draining packing session in Westchester, I didn't go straight back to the hotel. Rachel took me to her apartment in the Upper East Side. She said I shouldn't be alone yet. The adrenaline that had been pumping through me when I confronted Ben had now subsided, leaving behind an immense fatigue. My body ached. My joints started to hurt again, a sign that my autoimmune disease was protesting the stress I had endured all day. But Ben, apparently, wasn't done. Just as I had settled onto Rachel's plush sofa, hugging a pillow, my phone rang. Mom appeared on the screen. My heart sank. My mother lived in Florida and had a history of hypertension. I always tried to hide my problems from her so as not to worry her. But seeing the clock showing 9 p.m., this call was definitely not just to ask how I was doing. "Hi, Mom," I said, trying to sound cheerful. "Sarah, honey, where are you right now? Are you okay?" My mother's voice was panicked, her breathing labored. In the background, I could hear my father trying to calm her down. "I'm fine, Mom. I'm at Rachel's place. What's wrong? Why are you so panicked?" Just now, Ben called me. He was crying. "Honey, he said you ran away from home. He said your illness is getting worse, that you're hallucinating and accusing him of things. He said you need an exorcism or to be taken to a psychiatrist." Oh my God, Sarah, what's wrong with you? What other illness do you have? My fists clenched so tightly my knuckles turned white. Ben was truly despicable. He knew my weakness was my parents. He played the part of the devoted son-in-law and wronged husband to twist the facts for my distant parents who knew nothing. He wanted to build a narrative that I was the problem, that I was the ungrateful wife who abandoned a husband who had faithfully cared for her. "Mom, listen to Sarah," I interrupted, my tone firm but gentle, trying to quell the panic on the other end. "I am sane. I am fully aware. Ben is lying, Mom." But he swore. "Honey, he said he loves you to death, but you're being emotional because of the medication." "Mom," I took a deep breath. "I left because Ben is cheating on me. I saw it with my own eyes, and I have proof." There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then I heard my mother's suppressed sobs. Hearing my mother cry because of the man she had once trusted to take care of me felt like a knife twisting in my heart. My anger towards Ben reached a level I had never felt before. Enough was enough. I had been patient enough to keep this family disgrace quiet. But if he was going to drag my parents into his swamp of lies, then this was a declaration of open war. "Mom, Dad, to the whole family, I'm going to send something now. After you see it, you don't need to listen to a word Ben says anymore. Please, trust Sarah," I said, then hung up. I looked at Rachel, who was sitting on the rug, massaging my feet. "He called my parents, said I was crazy." Rachel snorted. "Coward. He thinks he can play family politics. Okay, we'll play too." I opened WhatsApp. My eyes focused on a group named the Johnson Miller Clan. This group included my immediate family and Ben's. My parents, his older siblings, and a few close cousins. So far, the group had only been for birthday wishes, holiday stickers, or food pictures. Ben, the master of image crafting, often posted pictures of us there, with romantic captions to get praise as the ideal husband. Today, I would tear down his stage. Without hesitation, I typed an opening message. Asterisk. Good evening, everyone. I apologize for bothering you all so late. Regarding Ben's call to my parents stating that I ran away due to a mental breakdown and hallucinations, I feel the need to set the record straight to avoid any slander. Asterisk. My fingers moved quickly, attaching the files we had prepared. First, the audio recording from outside the bedroom. Second, screenshots of Ben's romantic chats with Alyssa discussing his sickly wife and plans to sell the house. Third, the bank statement showing the $5,000 transfer for the car down payment and regular transfers to Alyssa using our pilgrimage savings. Sent. The double check marks quickly turned blue. One by one, the group members read it. The digital silence was deafening. I could imagine their faces, frozen, staring at their phone screens. 1 minute passed, then 2, then notifications started popping up. My outspoken cousin was the first to reply. Asterisk. Oh my God. Is this for real, Ben? How could you talk about your own wife like that? Asterisk. My uncle chimed in. Asterisk. That's clearly Ben's voice. There's no denying it. Asterisk. Then a message from my father appeared, short but sharp. Asterisk Ben, please explain why my daughter's pilgrimage money was used for another woman. Is this what you call being a good husband? Asterisk. I waited for a reaction from Ben's side. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Miller, was fiercely protective of her youngest son. She had often made subtle digs at me about not having children, about me being too career-focused, and lately, about my illness being a burden to her son. A notification pinged again. My mother-in-law emerged from her silence. Mrs. Miller, asterisk Sarah. Don't just accuse your husband. Audio recordings can be edited these days. As a wife, you should cover your husband's shame, not spread it in the family group. Ben is tired from working for you. It's normal for him to need a little entertainment. Don't blow things out of proportion. Asterisk. My blood boiled reading her message. Asterisk. Entertainment asterisk. She was normalizing her son's affair. Before I could reply, Rachel snatched my phone. Let me handle this. You're too polite for this old witch. Rachel typed quickly under my name. Sarah. Asterisk. With all due respect, Mrs. Miller, the entertainment you're referring to cost $10,000 from our pilgrimage savings. Do you also approve of Ben selling the house bought with my mother's inheritance to finance that woman? Bank transfer records can't be edited. And for your information, the divorce petition has been filed through my lawyer. Let the judge decide who is blowing things out of proportion. Asterisk. Checkmate. There were no more replies from my mother-in-law. Maybe she fainted, or maybe she was calling Ben, screaming at him for his stupidity and leaving a digital trail. Ben's older sister, Nina, who had always been neutral, suddenly sent me a private message. Asterisk Sar. I'm so sorry for what Ben and my mom did. I'm so ashamed seeing the proof. Stay strong. I support your decision. Asterisk. That small message of support meant the world. Ben's side was divided. He had lost the moral support of his own family. A sense of satisfaction washed over me, but it was accompanied by a pang of pain. The marriage we had built for 5 years was destroyed in a matter of days. But at least tonight I would sleep with the truth revealed. There would be no more slander. Tomorrow, the real war in the courtroom would begin. But I knew I had already won the battle of opinion in the eyes of our families. Bad news travels fast. And in the tight-knit corporate circles of New York City, scandals fly faster than a 5G connection. A week after I left the house, I started to piece my life back together. I took official medical leave from my job for my autoimmune and mental health recovery. However, the world didn't stop turning just because my heart was broken. News of my divorce from Ben spread. At first, it was just whispers among close friends. Then it became public knowledge, especially since Rachel intentionally let the legal facts leak to some of our college friends who also worked in the financial district. That morning, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Soho, waiting for a doctor's consultation. Rachel rushed in, her face beaming as if she'd just won the lottery. She placed an iced latte on the table with enthusiasm. "Sarah, you have to hear this. Karma is an express delivery service, no standard shipping," she said with a wide grin. "What now? Ben again?" I asked flatly. His name still left a small ache in my chest, but not as bad as last week. "Not just Ben, but a package deal with that innocent-looking homewrecker," Rachel replied. She opened her phone, showing a conversation in her alumni WhatsApp group. Turns out Alyssa wasn't just playing around with Ben. She's a seasoned player. I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Remember the head of the marketing division at Ben's office, Mr. Harrison, the bald, rich guy? Turns out Alyssa was his mistress too. The difference is, with Ben, she played with his feelings. With Mr. Harrison, she played for money," Rachel explained animatedly. "And guess what happened? Mr. Harrison's wife is in my aunt's book club. When the news of Ben and Alyssa's affair blew up and reached Mr. Harrison, he panicked, afraid he'd be exposed too. So, he washed his hands of it." Rachel took a breath and continued with a triumphant tone. "It was Mr. Harrison who reported Ben to HR for violating the company's code of ethics. Conflict of interest, use of company facilities for personal gain. Remember the fake reimbursements we found in the bank statements? Turns out it was company money he used to treat Alyssa, but he faked it as client entertainment." I was speechless. Ben, the young executive who always boasted about his integrity and professionalism, fell because of fake reimbursements for a woman. How pathetic! So what now? This morning, there was drama in the lobby of their office building in the financial district, Rachel recounted. "My friend who works on the 12th floor gave me a live report. Ben was called in by HR and internal audit. The evidence was solid. He was given the option to resign dishonorably or be reported to the police for embezzlement. Obviously, he chose to resign, but that means zero severance, a ruined reputation, and his name blacklisted in the industry association. I imagined Ben walking out of the skyscraper that had been the symbol of his success. He had always revered his lanyard ID, his expensive suits, and his manager status. Now, all of that was stripped away. He was a nobody again, but this time with the burden of mortgage and car payments piling up. "What about Alyssa?" I asked, curious about the fate of the woman who had destroyed my marriage. Rachel laughed cynically. "Ah, this is the best part. As soon as she found out Ben was fired and going broke, Alyssa switched to survival mode. She blocked Ben's number this afternoon. My friends at the office said they saw Alyssa having lunch with the new director's special advisor, acting all flirty as if nothing had happened. She just left Ben like that, Sar. Used and thrown away." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the street outside. A light drizzle began to fall, wetting the asphalt. There was a strange sense of relief. I didn't have to do anything to destroy them. Their own greed and lust were their downfall. Ben sacrificed a loyal wife for a woman who only saw his wallet. Now that the wallet was empty, he was alone. My phone vibrated. An unknown number. But from the last few digits, I knew it was Ben's old, rarely used number. I answered, staying silent. "Sarah." The voice on the other end was hoarse, broken, and desperate. It was Ben's voice, stripped of all its arrogance. "Sarah, please help me. I got fired. Alyssa left me. I have no one. My parents in Florida won't even answer my calls. Please, Sar, I made a mistake. We can fix this, right? I promise I'll change." Hearing his plea, I remembered the moments in the hospital when I was alone, enduring the pain. I remembered his smile as he held Alyssa in our room. I remembered how he called me a sickly, hallucinating wife in front of my parents. The flicker of pity that had briefly appeared was instantly extinguished by those memories. "Ben," I said softly but firmly, "remember your words? This sickly wife is just a burden. Now your burden is gone, Ben. You're free. Enjoy your freedom." "Sarah, don't hang up. I need money for the car payment. The leasing company is going to repossess it tomorrow. It was our dream car." He started to whine in panic. Our dream car was the one you made a down payment on with my pilgrimage money to show off to your mistress? Let them repossess it. Consider it your last charitable act to get rid of bad luck. Sarah, you can't be this cruel. I'm your husband, he yelled in frustration. Ex-husband, I corrected him coldly. The first divorce hearing summons has been sent to your new studio apartment address. I know you don't have the guts to go back to Westchester and face the neighbors. See you in court, Ben. I ended the call and immediately blocked the number. Rachel looked at me with a proud smile, raising her coffee cup. To the new Sarah, free from parasites. I clinked my glass of water against hers. To a healthier future, inside and out. Outside, the rain stopped. The usually imposing New York skyline looked a bit brighter. I took a deep breath, feeling the free air fill my lungs. Ben was in the past. The wreckage of his life was his own problem. I had a life to rebuild, and my first step started today. Rachel's SUV slowly climbed, leaving the suffocating hustle and bustle of New York City behind. In the rearview mirror, the arrogant skyscrapers gradually shrank, replaced by rows of pine trees and sprawling tea plantations that covered the hills like a green velvet carpet. I opened the window slightly. The cool, crisp air of the Catskills immediately rushed in, carrying the calming scent of wet earth and decaying leaves. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe, truly breathe, without a heavy stone pressing on my chest. My destination was an old villa, a legacy from my late father, in the Cicerua area. The Dutch colonial-style building with its natural stone walls and high windows had not been visited by us for a long time. It used to be our family's favorite vacation spot when I was little. But since I married Ben, he always refused to come here. It's too old-fashioned, Sar. Too many mosquitoes. Let's just go to a 5-star hotel in the Hamptons or have a staycation in the city, was his excuse back then. Now I realized he just disliked simplicity. He needed luxury to validate his fragile ego. Mr. David, the loyal caretaker of the villa, greeted me at the iron gate, its black paint starting to peel. The old man's smile was genuine, a stark contrast to the fake faces I saw in the city. Miss Sarah, thank God, you've finally come home. I thought this villa was going to be sold by Mr. Ben. Mr. David greeted me, helping me with my suitcase. My heart stirred at the mention of his name. It won't be sold, Mr. David. This is my father's house, and Ben has no right to this place anymore. I'm here alone, Mr. David. Maybe for a long time? Mr. David paused for a moment, looking at my still swollen eyes, then nodded in understanding without asking further questions. People from the countryside like Mr. David have an intuition that city dwellers often lose. They know when to be quiet and give space. The first few weeks were a detoxification of soul and body. My first days at the villa felt strange and silent. The quiet here was so dense, especially at night. My ears were used to the roar of cars on the streets of Westchester, or the hum of the refrigerator, and Ben's incessant phone notifications. Here, there was only the sound of crickets, the rustling of tree branches in the wind, and the gentle gurgle of a small river behind the villa. At first, the silence was frightening. Without the noise of the city, the voices in my head became very clear. The image of Ben and Alyssa in our bedroom, the sound of their laughter, and Ben's cruel words when I confronted him all replayed like a broken record every time I closed my eyes. The first few nights were filled with nightmares. I would wake up in a cold sweat, my breath short, and my joints stiff. My autoimmune disease was reacting to the post-traumatic stress. Mornings were torture. Waking up, my fingers felt swollen and stiff, as if someone had glued my bones together overnight. My knees ached when I bent them. A faint butterfly-shaped red rash started to reappear on both my cheeks, a sign of a mild lupus flare-up. You have to make peace, not with Ben, but with the situation. So, I started forcing myself to build a new routine. I turned off my phone, storing it in the deepest drawer of the teak wardrobe in my room. I cut off contact with the outside world, except for once a day in the evening to check in with my mother and Rachel. Every morning after sunrise, I forced my aching legs to step out onto the back terrace. I sat on an old rattan chair facing the valley, which was still covered in thick fog. I learned to meditate, taking deep breaths, inhaling the pure, unpolluted oxygen and exhaling slowly. Asterisk, I release this pain. Asterisk, I whispered to the morning mist. I release Ben. I release my revenge. Asterisk. At first, they were just empty words, but gradually, I started to feel it. The nature of the Catskills seemed to be conspiring to heal me. The warm morning sun helped reduce the pain in my joints. The cold, fresh mountain water made my skin feel more alive. The food cooked by Mr. David's wife, spinach picked from her garden, salted fish, chili paste, and brown rice, tasted far more delicious than any fine dining I had ever had with Ben, full of pretense. The kitchen became my sanctuary. By the third week, my energy started to return. Tired of just sitting around, I began to explore the villa's kitchen. It was spacious, with a sturdy old teak island and a large window overlooking the vegetable garden. Due to my autoimmune condition, I had to be very careful with my diet: no gluten, less sugar, no preservatives. In New York, finding such food was difficult and expensive. Here, I had plenty of time and fresh ingredients. I started experimenting. Cassava flour, almond flour, coconut sugar, and fresh fruits became my new toys. I remembered my mother's old sponge cake recipe and modified it to be safe for me. The first attempt failed. It was dense and hard as a brick. I laughed. My first genuine laugh since the incident. The second attempt was better. The third was perfect. The aroma of vanilla and cinnamon filled the entire villa, chasing away the musty smell that had lingered. Mr. and Mrs. David became my loyal taste testers. "This is delicious, miss. So soft, not too sweet," Mrs. David praised with sparkling eyes as she tasted my gluten-free banana bread. That simple compliment lit a small fire in my chest, a sense of purpose. All this time, Ben had made me feel useless, except as an ATM and a social accessory. In this kitchen, with my hands covered in flour, I rediscovered the lost Sarah, the creative, meticulous, and loving Sarah. On a whim, when I turned on my phone one evening, I took a picture of my creation and uploaded it to my Instagram story with a simple caption: "Soul and Body Therapy, Gluten-Free Banana Bread with Walnuts. Number Autoimmune Warrior." The response was explosive. Friends from the autoimmune community flooded my DMs. They asked for the recipe, shared how hard it was to find safe snacks, and surprisingly, many asked, "Are you selling these? I'd love to order." The idea came like a lightning bolt. A healthy catering business, asterisk Sarah's Kitchen asterisk. I had the knowledge from my time as a pharmaceutical rep. I had the cooking skills. And now, I had a market. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of nightmares, but because my brain was busy creating a menu and a business strategy. One of my routines in the Catskills was visiting a herbal tea shop near the Gunstock Mountain Resort. The owner was a holistic health practitioner who often held sharing sessions for survivors of chronic illnesses. It was there that fate led me to meet someone new. That afternoon, it was raining heavily, the kind of persistent, misty mountain rain. I had just finished a sharing session with the community. As I was waiting for the rain to subside on the shop's terrace, hugging a jar of my latest cookie experiment, a man ran in from the parking lot, covering his head with a laptop bag. He was soaked. His plaid flannel shirt clung to his body. His glasses were fogged up. He shook the water from his cargo pants and then turned to me with an awkward smile. "The rain's no joke, huh?" "My umbrella even flipped inside out," he said with a chuckle. I smiled politely. "Yeah, the mountains can be like that when they're angry." He took off his glasses, wiping them with a dry corner of his shirt. When he put them back on and looked at me, I was taken aback for a moment. His eyes were calm, not the judgmental or flirtatious gaze of the men in the city, but a warm and friendly look. "I'm Daniel," he said, extending his hand. "I'm the architect for the project next door. I've seen you on your morning walks, but this is the first time I've had a chance to say hello." I took his hand. It was rough and warm. "Sarah?" "Sarah. A beautiful name. Goddess of knowledge and art," he commented. "By the way, what's that smell? I've been smelling the most delicious cinnamon from your direction." I laughed, lifting the jar in my arms. "Oh, These are gluten-free cinnamon raisin cookies. Want to try? Daniel didn't hesitate. He took one, bit into it, and his eyes widened. Wow, these are seriously good. They don't taste like diet food at all. The texture is perfect, crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, accompanied by the sound of rain hitting the tin roof of the shop. Daniel told me he was overseeing the construction of an eco-resort not far from my villa. He was a widower. His wife had died 3 years ago in a car accident. When she left, it felt like my world stopped turning. "Sar," he said, his voice low, matching the rhythm of the rain. I was angry at God. I was angry at the truck driver who hit her. I was angry at myself. Why didn't I pick her up that day? I looked at his profile. There was a deep sadness there, but also acceptance. "So how did you move on?" I asked softly. Daniel turned to me and smiled faintly. "I realized that if I kept mourning her death, I would be insulting the life we had together. She wouldn't have liked to see me broken. So, I rebuilt myself, slowly. I dedicate my work to her. In every building I design, her spirit is there." His words struck my heart. If Daniel could rise from the loss of death, an eternal separation, why couldn't I rise from a separation caused by the betrayal of a scumbag like Ben? Ben was still alive, but he was dead to me. "You have a storm in your eyes too, even though your smile is sweet," Daniel said carefully. I took a deep breath and told him the gist of my story. Not the disgusting details of the affair, but about my feelings. About how my autoimmune disease was often used as a weapon to weaken me mentally. About the feeling of worthlessness that Ben had instilled in me. Daniel listened intently. He didn't interrupt, he didn't judge, and most importantly, he didn't offer cliché advice like "be patient" or "everything happens for a reason." "What a fool," Daniel muttered after I finished. He had a diamond but treated it like a pebble, just because the diamond needed a little polishing. He looked at me intently. "Sarah, your illness is not a disgrace. It's part of your struggle. And you're standing here now, baking delicious cookies, laughing again. That's proof that you are much stronger than he thought. You are a survivor, not a victim." That afternoon, under the pouring mountain rain, for the first time, I felt seen. Truly seen as a whole person, not as a sick wife or a woman who had been cheated on. Meeting Daniel was a catalyst. He often stopped by the villa on his way home from the project, sometimes bringing organic fruits, sometimes bringing design sketches for my production kitchen. If Sarah's kitchen is going to be serious, the workflow has to be right. This villa's kitchen layout is good, but it needs some modifications so you don't get tired walking back and forth. "Remember your knee joints," he'd say, spreading tracing paper on the dining table. Our closeness grew organically, without force or cheesy pickup lines. There were only discussions about recipes, designs, and life. He became an intelligent and supportive friend. However, I maintained my boundaries. My wound was still fresh. My divorce was still in process. I didn't want to use a good man like Daniel as a mere rebound. My physical condition improved drastically. The clean air, healthy food, calm mind, and supportive environment put my autoimmune disease to sleep. I could even go for a light jog around the tea plantation. My catering business started getting regular pre-orders from the city, delivered every weekend via a travel service. I was becoming independent. One evening, as the sun set, leaving a streak of orange in the sky, I stood on the villa's balcony. My phone vibrated. A message from Rachel, *Sar, the final hearing date is set. You have to come down from the mountain next week. I stared at the phone screen. A message like this would have made me tremble with fear before, but now I felt a strange calmness. I looked at my reflection in the window pane. My once thin and pale cheeks were now fuller and rosy. My once dim eyes now shone brightly. I was ready. The old Sarah who cried in the rain when she was subtly kicked out of her own life was gone. Now there was Sarah, the owner of Sarah's Kitchen. A woman who could turn pain into creation. Wait for me. New York. I whispered. I'm coming back, not to beg, but to close the book. The night before the hearing, I stayed at Rachel's apartment in the Upper East Side. The hustle and bustle of New York felt foreign after more than a month of being one with the tranquility of the mountains. The sound of horns and sirens in the distance made me anxious for a moment, but Rachel quickly prepared chamomile tea and a face mask. "Tonight, we're pampering, not panicking," Rachel said firmly, placing a cool mask on my face. "Tomorrow is your graduation day from the University of Toxic Marriages. You have to look stunning." I laughed. "Graduation? Your words, Rach? Of course, you've passed the God-level patience test. Tomorrow, you just need to pick up your divorce decree," she replied lightly, though I knew she was also tense preparing the final defense materials. Although Rachel tried to be funny, when the lights were out, the image of Ben crept back in. Not a feeling of longing, but of anxiety. What if he caused a scene in court? What if he brought false witnesses? What if the judge didn't side with me? But every time that anxiety surfaced, I remembered the fresh mountain air, the smell of my homemade cakes, and Daniel's calm gaze saying, "You are a survivor, not a victim." I hugged the bolster tightly, letting that mantra lull me to sleep. The morning of the judgment. That morning, I woke up before the alarm went off. I prayed with deep devotion, pouring out all my remaining doubts on the prayer mat. God. If this separation is the best way for me to get closer to you and find myself again, then make it easy. Strengthen my steps and sharpen my tongue to speak the truth. I chose my clothes carefully. Not a black dress for mourning, nor a bright red one for defiance. I chose a knee-length sheath dress with an elegant cut, paired with a cream-colored blazer. My makeup was natural, only highlighting the healthy glow on my cheeks that I got from the mountain sun. I wanted Ben to see me not as a broken wife, but as a healed woman. The New York County Supreme Court building was already crowded that morning. The hallways were filled with somber faces, swollen eyes, and a tension that hung in the air. The energy in this place was heavy, full of broken dreams and broken promises. As Rachel and I walked towards the waiting area, I saw him. Ben was sitting in a corner of the waiting room. The sight of him made me stop for a moment. Where was the Ben? The young executive who was always neat, smelled of expensive cologne, and wore branded suits. The man in the corner looked pathetic. His white shirt was wrinkled at the sleeves. His hair was a bit long and unkempt, and his body, my God, he was so thin. His cheekbones protruded, and there were dark circles under his eyes. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. He was accompanied by a young lawyer who looked bored, playing on his phone. It was clear he was a pro bono lawyer or a cheap one. None of Ben's family was with him, not my vocal mother-in-law, not his older siblings. He was alone. When his eyes caught mine, he stood up immediately. There was a glimmer of hope in his dim eyes. He was about to step closer, but Rachel quickly stood in my way, giving him a razor-sharp glare that said, "Back off or I'll pounce." Ben shrank back. He sat down again, looking down. Inside the courtroom, in the matter of the divorce petition number so-and-so, between Sarah Johnson, petitioner, versus Benjamin Miller, respondent. The clerk's voice called us in. The courtroom was cold and smelled of formality. The panel of 3 judges sat in front with an intimidating presence. The proceedings went faster than I expected. Apparently, Rachel had worked very hard behind the scenes. She presented the evidence with the precision of a surgeon. "Your Honor," Rachel's voice boomed in the room, "the respondent not only violated the marriage vows by committing adultery, but also committed financial abuse and attempted to neglect his seriously ill wife." Rachel played our ace, the proof of the Pilgrimage Savings Fund transfer. This is the bank statement of the joint Pilgrimage Savings account that was drained by the respondent to pay the down payment for a luxury car and to finance the lifestyle of his mistress, Miss Alyssa Monroe, while the petitioner was undergoing chemotherapy. A gasp was heard from the visitor's bench. The presiding judge looked at Ben with a sharp gaze from behind his thick glasses. "Mr. Miller, is this evidence correct?" Ben trembled. He tried to stand, his voice hoarse and weak. "Yes, I made a mistake, Your Honor. I intended to replace it later. A mistake that is repeated and planned by transferring assets is not a mistake, but a malicious intent." An associate judge cut in firmly. I sat in the petitioner's chair with my back straight. I didn't look at Ben at all. I focused on the American flag on the front wall. Here, in this room, I was taking back the dignity he had once trampled on. I gave my testimony calmly, without tears, without drama. My voice was steady as I recounted how he had left me in the hospital and brought another woman to our bed. My calmness became my deadliest weapon. If I had cried hysterically, people might have pitied me. But with my calmness, people could see how deep the wound was, that even tears had dried up. Finally, the gavel was raised. Asterisk, bang, 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 asterisk. The court grants the petitioner's petition in its entirety. A decree of divorce is granted to the petitioner from the respondent. My world went silent for a moment as the gavel hit the wooden table. The sound echoed to the deepest corners of my heart. Over. Done. The rope that had tied me to suffering for 5 years was now cut. The judge also granted the division of assets. The house in Westchester had to be sold, and the proceeds were to be divided in half after a full reimbursement of my pilgrimage money. Ben got nothing but the remaining debt, the final confrontation. I walked out of the courtroom, feeling as light as a feather. I felt like I could fly. Rachel wrapped her arm around my shoulder tightly. "You did it, Sar. You won. Hands down." We walked towards the parking lot. The New York sun was at its brightest, as if it was also burning away the remnants of my past. Rachel excused herself to go to the restroom and handle the administrative paperwork for the divorce decree, letting me go ahead to the car. "Sarah!" That voice used to be music to my ears. Now it sounded like screeching broken plates. I stopped, took a deep breath, and turned around slowly. Ben was running to catch up with me. Sweat drenched his forehead. He stopped just 2 steps in front of me, close enough to smell the musty odor from his shirt that used to always smell of expensive laundry. "Sarah, please listen to me." His breath was ragged. "Don't go yet." I looked at him flatly. "The hearing is over, Ben. There's nothing left to talk about. The division of assets will be handled by Rachel." "It's not about the assets," he exclaimed, his voice cracking with tears. Suddenly, he did the unexpected. In the middle of the hot asphalt parking lot, Ben dropped to his knees. A few passers-by turned, whispering, "A street drama," but I didn't care. I looked at him without pity, only with bewilderment. Where had this man's pride gone? "Ben, get up. Don't embarrass yourself," I said coldly. "I have no shame left, Sar," he sobbed. He looked up, tears streaming down his dirty cheeks. "I'm ruined. I'm truly ruined. I was fired, blacklisted everywhere. My parents in Florida won't answer my calls. My mother is sick from the shame of what I did. Alyssa left me as soon as my money ran out. I'm alone, Sar. I have no one but you." He tried to grab the hem of my dress. I stepped back quickly, as if avoiding something unclean. "You're wrong, Ben." I corrected him. "You had me before. When you still had everything, you threw me away. Now that you have nothing, you're looking for me. What am I? A spare tire? A trash can to dump your failures in? I know I was wrong, Sar. I was stupid. No woman is as sincere as you. No one can take care of me, be patient with my ego like you. Let's get back together, I promise. I swear to God, I'll change. I'll do any job. I'll even be a construction worker if I can be with you again. Please, Sar, I still love you." The word love coming from his mouth sounded like the world's most unfunny joke. I smiled wryly. Then my eyes caught a crushed, cracked, and dirty plastic water bottle near the tire of someone's car. "Ben," I called softly. He stopped crying, looking at me with hope. "See that plastic bottle?" I asked, pointing to the trash. Ben looked, confused, then nodded. "Our relationship is like that bottle. You didn't just drop it, you stomped on it until it was crushed, dirty, and shapeless. Now you're asking me to pick it up, wash it, and use it to drink from again." I shook my head slowly, looking deep into his eyes. "A cracked bottle might be glued, Ben, but it can never hold water perfectly again. It will leak, and the cracks will hurt the lips of anyone who tries to drink from it. The water will never be full again. That trust is gone. Drained dry. Sarah, give me one more chance. I gave you thousands of chances during our 5-year marriage. The chance to be honest, the chance to be faithful, the chance to respect me. You wasted them all. I cut him off firmly. I have forgiven you, Ben. I truly have, for my own mental health. So I don't die eaten by resentment. But to go back? No, that door is permanently sealed. Then what am I supposed to do, Sar? I'll die like this. Live with the consequences of your choices. Learn to be a responsible adult on your own. That's the only way you can atone for your sins. Not by dragging me back into the hell you created. Without waiting for his answer, I turned on my heel. I walked away. At the end of the parking lot, under a shady tree, a black SUV was parked. Its window was half open. Inside sat a man in a flannel shirt, smiling calmly at me. He didn't get out. He knew this was a battle I had to finish on my own. He was just waiting patiently, ready to be the place I came home to. A real home. Seeing Daniel's smile, my steps became lighter. The pain in my legs disappeared. The tightness in my chest vanished. I reached his car, opened the front door. The aroma of coffee and pine greeted me. All done? Daniel asked gently. His voice was like an oasis in the desert. I glanced back. Ben was still kneeling on the asphalt, crying alone under the hot sun, a spectacle for passers-by. His figure shrank into a speck in the past I was leaving behind. I looked at Daniel and nodded firmly, smiling broadly, the most genuine smile I had given in a long time. Yes, Daniel, it's all done. Let's go home. I want to make another batch of dough. There's a new order from the cafe next door. Daniel laughed heartily. You got it, boss lady. We'll stop for flour on the way. The car moved slowly, leaving the courthouse behind. I leaned my head back on the seat, looking at the clear blue New York sky. There were no more dark clouds. The storm had truly passed, and ahead of me, the rainbow of my new life was waiting to be painted. I, Sarah Johnson, was finally free.